Hey everyone, welcome to The Pulse. I'm John Hancock, and today we're going to be talking with my friend Keith Clearwater. He's a father of 4, a grandfather of 10, and a professional golfer. We're going to be talking with him about his experiences in golf, his transition from his college to pro years, a little bit about his ideas about golf, and also his ideas about fitness, and a little bit about Cardio Miracle at the end. So thanks, Keith. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here with you.
How you doing?
Never better.
Never better. Oh, great. So just wanted to start out. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, I'm here, I guess, because of golf and Cardio Miracle. I love them both. I have a passion for both, and it's exciting to be a part of this whole new movement, I think, in getting people healthy and staving off some of the challenges as you get older. I've felt the effects of a lot of great things through Cardio Miracle, but I wish I'd had it back 25, 30 years ago when I was full-time competing on the PGA Tour. It really would have made a difference, and we're seeing, actually, what's fun is I've got some PGA Tour players now on Cardio Miracle, and there is no substitute for them as far as mid-round, pre-round, and late in the round, having the kind of nutrition you need, especially on the golf course, to get through an entire day.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning and how you got into golf. Do you remember the first time you hit a golf ball? Or
yeah, we lived right below a golf course, and before I even played, we'd sneak around the lakes, we'd walk around the perimeter of the golf course, and we'd collect golf balls, sell them to the members. There was a little hole cut in the fence at the bottom, and we'd go play this little 4-hole swing that we could play before the marshal caught up to us. So we just found a way to compete. I played every sport growing up, and then golf just kind of introduced itself because of the proximity to where we lived. We started playing, and I loved it because I didn't need a buddy to play, baseball with or football, play catch, whatever. All of a sudden I could practice, and I was a crazy kid. I would practice 14 hours a day. I just loved it, and started playing when I was about 12 years old, which is actually pretty late for the PGA Tour. Most kids are starting at 5 or 6 now. And anyhow, just took off. It got in my blood, and still there at 63.
Yeah. So you played a lot of sports though, and you enjoyed athletics in general, but is the proximity to the course, and is there anything about you said you could play it by yourself, anything else about golf that just drew you in?
I love anything that if you want to push it to its nth degree, you have the capacity to do it and the framework to do it. And golf provided that. And I truly loved practicing all day long. I could do it all day long. Now, this is a unique sport. My son, who's now a passionate golfer at the age of 30, played football, baseball. He didn't want to have anything to do with golf because his buddies weren't there and they weren't hanging out. So golf's a real unique game, kind of a lonely game if you want to be great at it. Almost every guy you watch, and I think it's a unique thing to the sport, is that if you get to know the background of the PGA Tour players, you would have a lot of respect for them because they are self-motivated. They're out there doing their own thing. They're practicing alone. They're setting their own schedule. So, it's really lonely. If you want to get good, you got to do a lot of things alone for a lot of time. You got to chip for 4 hours. You got to putt for 2 hours. You got to hit driver. You just got to do a lot of things. So I guess you ask what drove me to golf. I just think golf has no ceiling on it. So you can get as good as you want, but there's no end to how good you can get. So it's you leave the golf course every day knowing you left 5 shots out there, and now you got to go to work. So I love that. I love that there's just constant, in bowling, you can bowl a 300, you hit it. There's no lowest anything in golf. So you're always falling short, but you're always knowing there's more in you. I love that about it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'd like to talk a little later about what you said about the greatness, like becoming great at golf, that the process of that. But starting with your early years, so you started at 12 and then just kept working your way up, played in high school. What was your transition like through those years to college?
Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thing that I think almost all high school athletes run into, and all due respect to those great high school players, there's a process to greatness that most people quit on at about somewhere in high school, sometimes in college. But I think we'll all find, and I always tell my kids and others that when I speak is, guys, there is a pattern to greatness, and unfortunately, it requires you to be out of balance for a significant period of time in your life. And we're always talking, oh, have balance, that's where your happiness. There isn't a single great anybody that hasn't been out of balance for a window of time in their life. And that comes down to realizing that the last 3% of improvement to be great, which is really what it takes, requires almost 95% of the effort. And people just aren't willing to work for years sometimes to gather in, to gain that last little percent of improvement that pushes them over the top and gets them on the PGA Tour or whatever it is. It just requires where you're seeing almost no results. You're committed. You spend 6 months working hard and you go backwards, and you got to get back in the game and work even harder. And then you spend 3 months and you see a little bit of progress, and that little window of excitement there pushes you to work another 3 months. But it's that grind through the last little bit that has such a small amount of movement forward that, you just have to be so committed and so persevering. And that's where I think all greatness is found, in staying with it and doing the hard things for a long period of time for very little measured improvement. But it's all the improvement. It's what separates you.
I see. When did you first get the sense that you knew that you were good at golf, but when did you first get the sense that you could actually excel?
It's a great question. When I took it on, I was pretty good in a lot of sports. I was an all-star shortstop. I was on the California All-Star soccer team. We played the Dublin All-Stars in the Oakland Coliseum. I mean, I was playing a lot of things, but to really, when I thought I could do it, was probably because I improved really quickly early, and I loved it. And, the combination, almost anything that you love, you're going to start getting good at. And I progressed fast. I was obsessive about working at it, and I loved it. So when you get that combination of loving something, you're going to find a way. And, people used to always ask, well, what are you going to do if you don't make it? And I'd say, it's not an option. I'm making it. I'm going to go until I make it. If I'm 50 when I finally get a tour card, I'm going till 50. So it was, it's kind of my makeup too. I'm just I'm made that way, driven pretty hard. And I just think once you kind of see or can picture the possibility of being really good at something, and then you have this desire to push and you love it, I think you're going to get there. And I had that. So I just was, my mind was made up. I didn't have a plan B. Plan B sometimes stop plan A from ever happening. And so it was just going to happen.
Oh, that's great. Did you have, you told me it's a kind of lonely sport. And so a lot of times you're practicing by yourself. Did you have encouragement or mentors or anyone did you have a golf icon or hero that you looked up to, or?
Well, I always have loved Ben Hogan just from watching him. And then, I ended up winning Colonial on the PGA Tour, where Hogan, it's kind of Hogan's alley. He won 5 times. And, I got the chance to meet Mr. Hogan. He, there's a great story behind that. But he was probably my icon as the guy I looked to when I was growing up as a kid. And then, surprisingly winning at his tournament. And then how do I say this? I'm the only guy he ever went out and followed in the history of his life. So after I won, we had some similar things in our golf swing, and he just, he was always a passionate learner, practicer, not unlike me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just, he showed up in a golf cart behind the tees, like the first tee he was there as I'm teeing off the next year to watch me because I shot 60, and he wanted to see what I was doing. And then I'd see him on hole 3, so he'd go 2 holes ahead, and there he was, Mr. Hogan. I mean, Ben Hogan's the greatest ball striker in the history of the game of golf is sitting there watching you. And anyhow, we had met at the Champions Dinner, which is kind of neat, and just a privilege to have your, the greatest ball striker in the history of golf following you around. And never could I have dreamed that when I started the game and had him as my mentor, the guy I looked to.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's talk about how you got to that point. So there was obviously you went to college golfing. Tell us a little bit about your experience in college golf.
Well, I mean, I started out at St. Mary's College in Moraga, and great school, amazing school. I was a phenom in that area, so they gave me a full ride scholarship in the Bay Area, and I loved it. It was just a great school. But there was a player, his name was Bobby Clampett, one of the best players in the game. He was college All-American. He was the number 1 college player in the game, and he was a buddy of mine. We played junior golf together. Very long story short, we'll make this quick, is he went to BYU, and I was playing at St. Mary's, and we met at Christmas time because of our junior experience. We had won, so there was a junior tournament of champions, but it was still our first semester at BYU and St. Mary's respectively. And anyhow, he asked me what I was doing. Our wonderful schedule had me traveling from St. Mary's all the way to Napa, which is, 100 miles, 80 miles. And they were going to Hawaii, Palm Springs, Europe, Mexico. They were traveling all over the world, and they were one of the top 3 schools in the country. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, he talked me into switching up what I was doing. I went ahead and went to BYU. I actually had to redshirt a year. And so that was a unique experience, sitting out when it's probably the peak of your talent, the best of your golf game, and you're sitting there doing nothing other than waiting for a chance to play. So I did that. I ended up winning the qualifier that next year, and the rest, was fantastic. I was first team All-American there, and we won the national championship at BYU. So just a lot of great things took place, making that switch. Being willing to try to go to be a small fish in a big pond, versus where I was. And, you risk a lot. You're going to sit out. You don't know you're going to make it. It ended up being a life changer for me. It created my career path. I got there. When you're a first team All-American, you're one of the top 8 in the country. And went ahead and just had a great time. Loved it. Loved everything about it. And then obviously made the transition to the PGA Tour, qualifying after a few years, and just having what I call my dream life. It's a dream life. I love everything about it.
That's great. Let's talk about your dream life then in the PGA, the transition to the PGA, and your rookie year. What was that like? Yeah, your rookie year.
Well, an interesting thing. Yeah, in any other sport, if you're one of the top 8 in the country, you're signing huge contracts, generational money before you've even played a shot, or, hit the baseball or throwing the football, whatever. Your life's kind of set just by setting that precedence in college. In golf, it's not the same. You need to go now qualify for the PGA Tour. And there were 3 of us on that first team All-American at that group that missed our cards. So we went and played Asia and did some things. But it only prepared me better to get ready for the tour. I actually, the year before I got on tour, playing the mini tours just dominated. I made almost $200,000 on the mini tours 40 years ago. So, I mean, that's just silly. I won about everything I played in. and really had a good year. And that was my best year probably in golf that nobody knows about. It's an interesting thing, and not televised, no one's seeing you. But I got my card, went out, won twice as a rookie on the PGA Tour, and was PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, and got started.
What do you think went into that, making that your best year? I mean, besides all the practice you'd had up until that point, was there anything that was working to make it your best year?
Well, I mean, I just felt ready. I was kind of referring to that previous year where I felt in complete control and dominating a lot of things. Finally getting on the PGA Tour, felt ready. So it was almost a gift not to get my card, to have missed qualifying, to play on the lower level, but to learn how to win and learn how to compete and learn how to, carry yourself with a little more confidence and get it done. And so, I really felt ready when I got on the PGA Tour. My friends were already out there. Players that had achieved much less prior were doing really well. So I felt like I fit in, and it was a comfortable move.
Okay. And we have a clip of an interview. I think it's very early in your career. Maybe we can take a look at that and have you comment on it.
You got it.
It's one of those things. You go out and you play good shots. You play conservatively. You've got to be very patient and open. And fortunately, I kept it in play all day, and I gave myself a lot of opportunities. I made the putts when I was there. There's nothing secret or really overly creative about a day like this. You just do a lot of the basics correct, and you putt well. The day turns out well.
Yeah, that was a great time. That was at the U.S. Open, had a chance to win. This was after I'd won Colonial, and so there was some expectation that, I was kind of Rookie of the Year and maybe a new up-and-comer. And quite exciting to be playing with Tom Watson in the final group on Sunday. He was number one player in the world. And having a chance, obviously, to win the U.S. Open is a significant thing as a rookie. And I didn't play great. I had a couple really bad holes, but other than that, played fine. But the ending score wasn't great. But what a great experience to me, playing with Watson. That interview just reflects kind of my mindset, just making sure I'm doing the simple basics well all the time, not getting ahead of myself. I really felt comfortable, even though it was a new experience. I felt like I would do well that day. Winning, a whole bunch of things have to happen, but I knew I'd play well, and I actually did, other than 2 holes where I made 2 different triples on holes in an Open. You get in the wrong spot, and you leave it there 3 times, and all of a sudden you've made a triple. So anyhow, just a great experience. That guy is really young, though. That was just shown.
Yeah, as a very young Keith Clearwater. I like what you said though about doing the basics. There's nothing. It's not really a magic formula. You're just doing the basics. I was wondering if you could talk about. I've watched some of your other interviews, and you talk about getting into the zone. And athletes who have been in the zone, they know what that means, but is that connected to getting in the zone? And have you ever been in the zone, and what's that like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Interesting question. People are always searching for this flow or in the zone and this whole, and it's, to me, everybody has a different experience with it. I've been there before where it was just easy, but it's a combination of both mental calmness and yet physical preparation where you're ready, where your game is sharp, and where literally, when I won Colonial, and I've had some other times when I shot 61, had a chance to shoot in the 50s, where I literally just saw what I wanted to do. I saw the picture and it happened. And that's a combination of a lot of preparation, good physical skills at the time, and then because of your preparation, you're calm and you're hitting it so well, but you're calm as well, and you're only producing what you see. And that's what it is, where you just get to where you're almost on automatic. You are freed up completely. You see what you want to have happen, and it happens. You're not looking at the water hazard, the bunker, the out of bounds long. None of that even, it's not even in your brain. You see that, you picture the shot and you hit it and it comes off, and it's just actually quite easy. Yeah. It's not like you work hard for this. It's actually the least amount of work you'll ever find, and it's your highest performance. But it's not so easy to get to. You can't just relax and think it's going to happen.
Right.
It's just a whole bunch of things put together that allow you to get there. And like you said, like I said in the interview, it's really basic stuff. It's really doing basics extremely well where they become automatic.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice to be able to get in the zone and stay there, all the time. But it sounds like there were some times that you were in the zone throughout your career, but you're always continually finding new ways to improve. One thing I noticed in some of the articles I read is you were one of the first to get into weightlifting, strength training. And some people thought that this was a problem for golf, but what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, I loved it. I actually initially did it for two reasons. One, I wanted health and fitness was more important to me than golf. Okay. For my life. I just put that above it. And if that's not on your value hierarchy list of fitness first, then every time you get in contention, if golf's first, you're not going to want to mess that up. So you're going to stop working out during those times when you're playing good. So you'd always quit your fitness agenda. So I had to rearrange my priorities, make my value system where being in good shape mattered. And I had kids. I wanted to be able to pull them out of the backseat of the car and not tear my rotator cuff,
right.
Just life stuff. So that's where I built it upon. I loved it too. I loved working out. Traveling the tour, I wasn't a partier. I didn't want to go out. I have a phenomenal wife and family. So I was kind of boring. I'd go out on tour and everyone's out, nightlife and stuff. And I needed to fill that time. I couldn't sit in a hotel room and watch TV. So I went and worked out, and I started working out and loved it. I felt good. And so it became a lifestyle for me. And I started pushing it. And, anything you start doing and doing it well, you do more of. And so I really pursued it. I've always been into health. I carry a bag around. I travel with my blender. I'd have 20 different supplements in there. I always at least thought I was doing the right thing and wanted to do the right thing nutritionally. So I always looked at that. But fitness, I pushed it hard. Now there's not a guy on tour that's not training like a wild man in the gym every single day. Every single guy. It's the edge. And when I was doing it, it was kind of poo-pooed. It was like, what's he doing? He's going to mess up his swing, his touch. And that wasn't the case. And now, obviously, it's been proved that it's the essential thing to do. You need to go and do that. You need, there are so many areas of the game, and they're all, every one of them is important, and their fitness and training is on the highest level of what's important now for a tour player. And at the time, almost nobody did.
So you were a pioneer in that area.
Well, there's no question. People weren't doing it. People were afraid of it. And we introduced it, and then people started doing it. I started training with one of my friends out there, Kenny Knox, and we'd train together. So, it's like anything. Pioneering is really what it is when nobody else is believing it's worth doing or that it's going to be harmful. You got to prove that it's not. And
right.
And then, obviously David Duval and Tiger, both friends, have put it on the next level and trained like crazy. And, it's just a way of golf now. It's just part of golf.
So now it's been proven that it's actually, it's helpful for your overall golf game.
Yeah. The validation's everywhere, and, guys are strong. If they train right, they're more, they're prone not to get injury. And it's that preventative, part of working out is a big thing to a long year. The guys are swinging harder, training faster for speed, which requires just a better overall level of fitness in order to manage the higher speeds that their body's moving. The guys on average are about 15 miles an hour with their club head speed than they were 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
They're just faster. And everyone's faster. So, there used to be a few freak guys that could bomb it when I was playing full time, but now everybody, the top 100 all have clubhead ball speeds over 170.
Yeah, so that was actually a question I was thinking about. In a lot of sports, it seems like there's a huge gap when you move from college. I watched college, tennis players, basketball players, and it's a high level. But then to see a professional, there's just this whole other level. Is it similar in golf?
No question. Yeah, the sound of the ball coming off, the compression, and then just their ability to utilize their skills and apply them to a golf course. So they're just smarter. They know they hit a 6-iron 192 yards. They're not wondering how far their 6-iron's going to go. They know exactly. They've hit so many 6-irons and measured them on monitors. They know how far every club goes. They know their spin ratios. They know all that stuff. So, yeah.
So what goes into a good overall golf game? Because there's all sorts of components to. We've talked about fitness, but it seems like someone could be really good at putting, but then struggle in driving or irons. Can you talk a little bit about an overall golf game?
Well, that's true. And golf isn't Hogan always wanted to eliminate putting because he was such a good ball striker and putted very poorly. And had he been a better putter, he would have won many more tournaments. And that's also the case on the regular tour. There are guys that can't hit the ball a lick, but putt and chip great and make a living. A lot of guys that hit the ball great and, can't putt, and they still make a living, but they're leaving the golf course frustrated every day because they're not getting everything out of the game. Yeah. So what makes a great game? Everyone's working on all the elements. You'll see a guy at a tournament where we'll go and we'll putt for an hour, and then we'll go play, and then we'll come back and hit balls, and then we'll go over to the pitching or chipping area. So you're working on everything. And if anything's deficient, you're going to know it. It's going to show up. And so you really got to have, a really comprehensive, complete game now to make it out there.
Yeah. So Hogan was great, but was there any golfer that put all of those elements together in your mind who's been able to do that?
Well, yeah, we know him as Tiger Woods, who is the greatest player ever. And Tiger had no deficiencies, no weaknesses. Tiger Tiger was one of the best putters, best pitchers, best chippers, best bunker players, best iron player, best driver. He had a few years in 2000 where he was the number one driver on tour, and he just blew everyone away. He won 9 times one year, and he just dominated. So, yes, Tiger Woods is the guy who put it all together, and there are a few others who have very few weaknesses, but Tiger's the guy, that no one will touch. If you were to study his record, it blows everyone away. There's no one close.
He was born to play golf.
Well, he was trained and reared by a father who really taught him well and gave him just high level, I don't know what the word is, principled work ethic, fearlessness. You got a couple of those things that are kind of intangible, those subjective things that he owned. He was just fearless. He felt he should beat everybody. And that's a whole nother, the psychology end of golf. Yeah. Even though you might have all the tools, he managed that on top of it. That's why he dominated everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. The psychological aspect, because it seems like golf is a very, like you said before, it's kind of lonely. It's you against the course in a way. Yeah. But it's also, you're competing, you have to maintain composure. It's like free throws in basketball or, the serve and,
well, yeah. In golf, the ball's not moving. So you've got to react to it. You don't get to move and react in other sports, which is actually easier, more instinctive. Golf, you have to trigger it and get it started. But it's hard to compare golf to any other sport because that ball just sits there until you act upon it. And so that's a whole nother psychological challenge for people. There have been guys I don't know if you remember Sergio Garcia. For a while, one of the greatest players at the time they counted as many as 40 waggles, which he couldn't pull it back. He couldn't start it. He had the yips. He couldn't hit a golf ball. And finally, he'd just make himself go. So there's that whole end of it. Guys that couldn't shoot free throws, that had to train a system into their brain and let that take over. So
interesting. Do you have a favorite golf course that you've played on?
Oh, absolutely. You can't beat Augusta National, where the Masters is played. It's just the best. It's perfect condition. It's historical. It's gorgeous to look at visually. It's difficult to play when they get the conditions right. And there's almost nothing like it. Cypress Point, another great golf course in Monterey area, is just spectacular. It was an Alistair McKenzie course, as is Augusta National. So just that his design work is just fun to play, spectacular to look at. So those two, always love Memorial, where Jack plays. That's Jack Nicklaus's course and his tournament. It's Muirfield is the course, but it's at the Memorial. So it's just, when we get to play the best in the world, it's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting to get to these locations and, play a golf course that's just truly like it's fake turf throughout the entire, acreage of the golf course. Just perfect condition.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about golf is you get to be outside. It's beautiful. You're in nature. And so, I think we have a clip of one of your shots, and we get to take a look at that and hear your commentary on it.
The second shot of Keith Clearwater, who's at 6 under par. Make it 7 under. What a great shot. And that got him under par for the day. Saw Gil Morgan do that earlier.
So you planned that. You meant to do that.
That's my only walk-off shot in golf. It was the last hole. That's a par 3 hole. Last shot of the tournament on the last hole. So I hold it, and that going from birdie to par got me into the top 50 on the Champions Tour that year, so I didn't have to requalify, actually top 70. And anyhow, it's fun. That's what makes golf amazing. You never know when one of those shots might show up and just completely turn your day around, your year around. And, I was playing with Bernard Langer, who's, the greatest senior tour golfer in history, and just a real gentleman. So just fun to do something when it mattered. At the end of the day, you're not seeing the other side. It was just a mountain of people, sea of people on the hillside. And so just fun stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a great shot. Fun to watch. What do you draw any life lessons? You sort of mentioned some of them, but golf, what kind of life lessons do you draw from the game of golf?
Well, I mean, if I were a parent, I'd put my kid in golf. It's like, okay, these people, the game of golf, the people you play with are going to educate your kid on how to be kind, respectful, hardworking, patient, and the list goes on and on and on. You got to overcome immediate frustration, not throw your club, put it back in the bag when you know you're way better than what you just did. Walk down, hit your next shot.
Yeah.
And it's constant and it's immediate. So it's just a phenomenal game for teaching life to you. So if you're a parent and you want an easier pathway to having great kids, put them in the game of golf and let the game itself help shape their life. It's a great game, but golf also, it's such a study of perseverance to be good. You just have to stay with it. You got to keep working. You got to keep believing. You got to overcome. And, obviously that quality is every one of us in life are trying to stay with something long enough that we see the results. And when you don't for an extended period of time, it requires a certain depth of character to keep going. And I love that probably more than anything when I see it in somebody else. I really admire somebody who's calm in spite of a lot of, like when I've seen somebody that's just had a crappy year or two of stuff happen to them or longer, and they just stay the course, they persevere, they keep their mouth quiet, they don't complain, and they keep going. I just love seeing that. It's one of the great, character qualities that I want. My dad, I always thought I never heard him complain a day in his life. And he died of prostate cancer, and it goes to every part of your body. I watched him, not a moment of complaining. And when I'm done, I want my kids to tell me that. I've never heard my dad complain. And I really want that. I think that's such a, just be a guy that steps up and keeps going.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk a little bit about Cardio Miracle and how you came upon it and what you like about it and how it's helped you.
What I don't like is that I didn't know about it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's a really unique supplement for a somewhat, I don't like to eat when I'm playing golf. And so, like a banana we think is good, but it's a sugar spike. You're good for about 40 minutes, and then you feel the drop off. And you just don't have time in a round of golf to stop and eat. People are constantly experimenting with it. To me, Cardio Miracle, obviously for all of life, but even for, a period of time on the golf course where you're out there, it sustains blood flow, oxygen to your brain. It keeps you alert. It keeps you continue to have energy. There's truly nothing close. There's nothing like it that's on the market that you can take, pour it in. We have bottles of water on every hole that you can grab. I'll just pour a little thing. Yeah, just like that. Shake it up, pour it in. And it's truly a game changer. And every guy I get to try it, it's their go-to now on the PGA Tour because it's real. It's valuable. You got the vitamin D, you got the arginines and citrulline and all the other really valuable vitamins and minerals that are needed to sustain yourself through a period of time of not eating. And it's ideal. And you don't have blood sugar spikes. You continue to play without brain fog. All the things, and you don't get tired at the last 3 holes of a round, which are critical if you don't finish. So, I just love it. It's truly an amazing product. I hate too much of anecdotal stuff because there's so much research behind it. But I can only speak to that. I want the pros to speak to the real research because it's absolute. But I can only speak to, way to go. I'm glad you created this, and here I'm using it for this, and this, and my life's different. It's just changed my life actually outside of golf. If you want something that changes your game on the golf course, this is also the product.
That's great. So you're sharing it with all your golf friends and your family and with everybody.
I'm trying so hard not to be that annoying person that has the answer.
Right.
We all think we have the answer to stuff, and my go-to is, here's some. I give it to people now. I'll buy it for them because I don't want to be a seller, but it's so important to get this in your body and try it. And once you try it, you will absolutely stay with it. It's a life changer. Every human walking should be on it for a myriad of reasons. The blood pressure issue. But, John Hewlett, who's the CEO of Cardio Miracle, they've done a study. I believe it's 100,000 different diseases and challenges that are out there in the world. And it affects every one of them for good in some way. So Cardio Miracle, when given to 100% of every disease known to man, when they monitor and measure it, there is some measure of good in anyone taking it for all those 100,000 different. And I'm certainly missing the exact number, but every disease out there, it affects for good.
Yeah,
and that's huge. And there's such good research now. I'm a anecdotal for me, but I've also researched it, and I could tell you some of the research, but it shouldn't come from me. It should come from the guys that know the stuff, do the marketing, and I want them to. You go read it and study it, and it's game over. It's an absolute. You have to put it in your body.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Maybe if I keep drinking this, I'll start hitting shots like that one out of the sand trap.
Yeah, no question. I'm sure that's the answer.
All right. Thank you, Keith. Thank you for being on the show, The Pulse, and tune in again next time for our next interview. Thank you, everyone.